there is a growing trend that the courts do not favor people who come up against the government. And it's something that we must actually take serious interest in that. Now, if you analyze some of the cases from a layman's perspective, or when you analyze the cases in the court of public opinion, you realize that it seems the OSP, as well as the other individuals and organizations who have critiqued the work of the judges, may have OSP from doing the investigation because he had handed over those assets to his successor or to his estate. And so the court was of the view that once the person is dead, you cannot investigate corruption and corruption-related activities in his assets. But when you analyze it from a layman's point of view, you end up, when you analyze it from a layman's point of view, you realize that now the person is dead. We all admit that the person is dead. But does that stop us from investigating whether how he got his wealth was through corruption and corruption-related activities? The answer is no, because if you are able to ascertain or you are able to find some kind of corruption and corruption-related activities from engage in corruption or acquire wealth for their estates. And so if you go on that particular tangent where once you acquire those assets and you are dead, that is all. The one you will it to inherit everything, and then that is all. We'll end up creating a situation like a suicide bomber situation, because someone can pick money or someone can collect money, engages in suicide bombing so that his family will become rich. That is the example we are setting, because if today I can steal from public office, get a lot of money, and then when I die, my family can be rich, then we are not fighting corruption. And so it's actually something that we must all have an opinion on it. The OSP also cited the case of the LaBianca deal, where he tried to investigate the Colonel Damois, formerly of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And then there was an injunction from the Human Rights Court that prevented the OSP from undertaking investigation. And if you are leading or if you are heading towards that tangent, it means that I can engage in corruption, but once I am being prosecuted, even this is not a case of prosecution, this is investigations. Once I'm being investigated, I can. So a clear conscience fears no accusation. And so if indeed you believe that you do not have any corruption or corruption-related activities in your history, or it was another case the OSP cited. And so with this, we can also form an opinion as to whether indeed the OSP is really fighting corruption or corruption is fighting him, or whether indeed the courts are being a deterrent in the OSP's quest to fight corruption. And dismiss that application because he came to court out of time. But was that he intended to freeze the asset to be able to do investigation so that the accused will not interfere with investigations. This is very simple. You could give the OSP some time, say complete your investigation within this time frame. If you are unable to do so, come back to court, make an application for the court to make a determination whether to extend the period for investigations or not. But if we set a precedent where people can easily escape investigation, not prosecution, investigation, then we will not be able to get to the hurdle where we will attain evidence and prosecute people who engage in corruption and corruption-related activities. And so, investigations is very important. And if the other challenge aside the judiciary, the OSP mentioned has to do with interference in the office of or in the discharge of his work as the office of the special kind of conflict of there's this kind of conflicts amongst these organizations who are fighting corruption. And so the OSP, other state agencies are conducting investigation, but we don't hear anything from them. And it's actually a challenge the OSP is also facing. And then there's this issue of political backlash on the OSP. Ever since he started to do his work, he has received a lot of backlash, both from the opposition and then from the ruling government. And then one will wonder why an office that is set up to fight corruption receives such a backlash. Is it that the country is not interested in fighting corruption, or the country seems to see nothing wrong in the corruption-related activities that is going on in the country? You have people, anytime the OASP makes a move, you have people who will just come to attack the personality of the ASP, both in politics, academia, people in politics, people in academia, and all sort of people trying to actually attack the OSP in his quest to fight corruption. And this is actually a challenge he is facing, because if the one paying you has been some of these attacks or some of these blind following of these politicians, because the OSP is to fight corruption, has misconducted himself, or the OSP himself is engaging in corruption-related activities, there are procedures that we can follow. The OSP Act makes clear provision for how the OSP financial constraint. But I think Kisi Ejaben in person, or Kisi Ejaben, since he took over, has not suffered those kind of financial constraints, because he has gotten the clearance to recruit people. And I saw that he has recruited about 240 staff to aid his work. Unlike Martin Yamidu, who worked with just few administrative staff and his deputies, and they work without salary for a long period of time. Kisi Ejaben doesn't face some of these challenges, even though in his earliest years or when he took over, he faced some of these challenges, but those challenges are being fixed. And I don't see why that should deter him from fighting corruption, even though he may have a case that some of those, there are other challenges that is hindering his quest to fight corruption. And so I do think that the OSP must do better, looking at the kind of financial support that he has gotten. And also, there was an article written by Martin Emidu sometime in 2019 that one of the key challenges he faced as have it in mind or will not take steps to actually give this person a leave or actually help assist the OSP in investigating that particular person. And so when you have heads of public institutions trying to defend people who are being accused, trying to prevent people from interfering with investigation, or trying to shield people, it makes the work of the Office of the Special Prosecutor quite difficult. Also, the Office of the Special Prosecutor requires to get information from other government organizations or other public institutions. And some of these public institutions also makes it difficult for the OSP to attain information. And the OSP will not succeed if you do not get cooperation from some of these institutions. And so I think this is a valid point, and the OSP has a valid point if other institutions are not helping him or are not collaborating with him to fight corruption. However, there's one thing that I want to make clear, that the fight against corruption is very difficult in Ghana, looking at all the people who has tried the same kind of challenges. The fight against corruption will only succeed if we have all stakeholders collaborating effectively in ensuring that we fight corruption. We did not even need the Office of the Special Prosecutor if other government agencies were functioning effectively. If Yoko was functioning effectively, if Shiraj was functioning effectively, if Parliament was functioning effectively, if the Office of the Attorney General was fighting, but Kisi Ejaben, don't just do your part and leave. You must actually fight. If you go to court and your case is dismissed, you can always go for appeal. If you go to appeal and your case is dismissed, you can help to support the independence and then the autonomy of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The Office of the Special Prosecutor must be autonomous and then must be independent in reality, not independence in law. He must be able to function effectively, cooperate with other institutions. Institutions must be willing to give him information. Okay? The judiciary must be able to hear him out and try to work with him hand in hand in order to be able to fight corruption in Ghana. Also, we must have judicial reforms in our country. There must be special, really help our quest to grow as a country. Any other cases where you go to court, adjourn, go to court, adjourn, go to court, adjourn. We can have special instances to expedite corruption cases in Ghana. And I think that will really help in our quest to fight corruption. The OSP must also engage in a lot of education and sensitization, especially the younger generation or the upcoming generation. I always say the upcoming generation are the future of this country. And so in as much as this current generation has damaged the system, we can do better, or we can progress as a country if we are able to get the upcoming generation to fall in line and then ensure that they are able to act objectively and then do the right things. If we are able to save, if you are able to fight corruption in our country, and you are able to, without anybody questioning where you got those monies from. And so I think we must put in place systems. If you are going to deposit monies, how robust is our banking system to detect money laundering? How robust is our banking system to detect unusual deposit in people's account, or unusual transfer of monies in people's account? And so I think we must have those systems in place in order to fight corruption. Also, I think the OSP can do better in terms of preventing corruption. The OSP is mandated under the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act to take steps to prevent corruption. And so, fine, you may not be able to succeed in prosecuting people who engage in corruption and corruption-related activities. And so, can the OSP take it upon himself to conduct a corruption risk assessment on all procurement transactions? Recently, the Tema Motorway contract of $338 million was awarded. Did the OSP conduct a corruption risk assessment on it? You have every right to, present the findings such that those transactions will be suspended. For instance, we've been successful with the Ejapa deal, thanks to the risk assessments conducted by Martin Amidu. That deal has been suspended as it stands now. And so the OSP should be doing more in terms of the fight against corruption. Look at the Ewoya Lithium project. What corruption risk assessment has the OSP conducted? I've not seen any yet. So I think the OSP should be up and doing on that score. If you indeed believe you have a very good case, if you indeed believe you've done due diligence, you've done necessary investigation, I think you should not give up. You should always fight corruption till you get to the maximum. Also, Section 3, those funds. And in managing those funds, you can be able to use that to hire staff. You can be able to use that to cover the financial in our quest to fight corruption. And so all in all, I think the fight against corruption is difficult. The OSP is doing his quest. He needs to do more. He needs collaboration from other state institutions. The interferences are clear. The court has been a challenge. Other government institutions has been a challenge. Political interference has been a challenge. And all these challenges will continue to persist. And so there's the need for us as a country to see how best we can help the OSP deal with all these challenges. But while saying that, the OSP must also up his game and then ensure that he's able to fight corruption against all us. And so I'll end by posing the question, are we really ready to fight corruption as a country? Is the OSP really fighting corruption, or is corruption fighting the OSP? I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Ibrahim, for that very detailed presentation there on the fight against corruption. At this point, as usual, we'll try as much as possible to take comments from our studio audience, and we'll try and read some messages that
Good evening, studio audience and our viewers out there. Realize that, in fact, the people within its own government are even more corrupt than the previous government that wanted to do. What is corruption? It's just you have been entrusted with power and you try to benefit from that power that you have been trusted to. Let's take it, for example, simple, the quest for gold, or what we call galamsey. The OSP, they realize that almost all the people that has put power into his hands, he can't do it because the leadership, in fact, is controlling all. That's why it's been said it's a mother.
That any country will do all they can to make sure it did not creep into the system. It's not limited to only money, taking bribe or this or money laundering or corruption is, when you allow it, it's like cancer. Before you know it, it is in every sector of the government, affecting even the education system. In any corrupt country, examination cheating is normal. Nepotism is of high level because everything is by connection. And every project in a corrupt society, you can never get a quality one. Because when the contract is already 50%, is already negotiated to take profit, and they do it. Even Julius Berger, Nigeria, that's why sometimes they reject some projects. They give them contract. They say, no, don't take. So I think, and what does it take to fight corruption? Simple political will. If any government want to fight corruption, you look at a country like China. Corruption had pulling China down for a very long time until they make law recently. And they have killed about 3 governors and 11 ministers. And everybody see it as a serious deal. And today, China is progressing.
Is to keep these things running. And I feel like corruption is deeply seated in colonialism and all the exploitative activities that were carried out by our colonial masters, given this a kind of trend that we still have within our political system. So for me, I feel that it's a mandate upon all of us as Ghanaians to rise and fight against this oppressive and exploitative system. Because a change of one government to the other,
as my comrades have already shared, the only few things to add is that we all know that corruption didn't just jump out of thin air, just like it has been highlighted. It breeds, it has become a culture. Sometimes we perpetuate corruption without even knowing it. And there's only one way to solve it, is by uprooting the system itself that corruption thrives on. And that is the way forward. I don't think any institutions like the OSP is going to address our corruption situation in this country or anywhere in Africa for that matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, viewers, and of course, thank you very much, Comrade Ibrahim, for your time. I think we're just 5 minutes left for news, so this is where we call it a wrap on today's edition of Wednesday Palaver. My name is Ivan Bantaban. Up next is a news break with Jafia.